Hey everyone, welcome back to the shop. Let's get back to work on the Ford Flivver. Now, before we begin, a little something not good happened in my own personal life. I had another friend, very good friend I actually can kind of consider family. He was my pseudo stepdad, and I was kind of sort of the son he never had. It was Larry DeRubo, the guy who gave me this Flivver kit. He passed away earlier this week, and this is, my gosh, I think the 10th or the 11th of January. And it all had to do with something. I took him down for surgery. He had back surgery, and this was just before Christmas. Had an issue, so he had to go back in the hospital for a second surgery. And then when he was done with that, they kept him in ICU for a couple days just to monitor. And then they put him upstairs, a couple levels up into rehab. Now, the thing with the rehab is that wasn't the hospital. That was a company that did rehab. And when he was up there, he was complaining about pain and he had all kinds of issues because I had been down to see him a couple times. And lo and behold, up in rehab, he had not seen a doctor, a physician, a GP for 3.5 days. So after they got him back down to ICU, they did all kinds of tests. And then earlier in this week, I got notification that he was actually in hospice care. So I had an opportunity to go down and see him before he passed, but he did pass away. And at least they were able to arrest all the pain he was in. So at least when he was passing away, he passed away. It's about as good as you can get. So now this plane has very, very sentimental value to me now. And it was because that was the very last thing he gave me, and he was the one that said he wanted to see it get built. So Larry, I'm going to finish this plane for you. And I hope you're in a better place than you were when you were here. Okay, so where I am at right now is we've got the wing still set up kind of the way it was, I believe, the last time you saw it. And if you didn't, I'm going to have to just kind of backtrack. I do have the leading edge of the wing put on. Let me just take you off the stand. I'll walk you through. Okay, the leading edge is glued into position, and this part right here in between, I'm going to go ahead and I'll put some plywood behind this section, because when we have to put the way that they've got it set up, there'll be plywood here, and plywood here, because this is where I have to put the dowels through. And I just want to make sure that it's got something solid that it's going to go through, and that this whole front part of the wing is very well supported. So as we come on down, I've got the wing tips already glued into position, but I still have to attach it to the end. So as you can kind of see, I've got everything already cut out, ready to go. I've weighed down the corners so that this is flush with the surface here. It's not rocked forward, and this is the same. They wanted a little 5mm lift, so there's 5mm. I actually cut that down and got my micrometer and made sure I was very close. Just a little over 5mm, but it's proper. So I'll get that side done. Come on over here. This one's ready to glue into position as well. So I'll get this side done, and then we're going to take this whole thing off, flip it around, and let's get to work on building the ailerons. You ever notice when you got the day off, you're a lot busier doing stuff than you are when you're at work? So let me go ahead, kind of lean back a little bit. Hopefully you can see it. I've got the leading edge of the wing facing the wall, and the part we're working on, which is going to be the ailerons, is closer. So let me go ahead and get you guys off the stand, and we can have a quick little discussion on high-tech 225 metal gear servos. Okay, I was out in my little shed, my storage area, Digging through some boxes, because after the move I left a lot of stuff in boxes. I have exactly 2 of them. Don't need to spend any more money. The difference between the 2 servos is, here's the 425s, here is the 225s. The difference between the 2, hopefully I can get you close enough to see it. Probably not. Let's try it right about there. We are looking at 1.1 ounces for the little ones, 1.6 for the other ones, right about in there somewhere, right there, 1.6. The difference between the 2, torque-wise, this one right here, look closely, 54 ounce inches, only 46 for these. These are stronger servos, so anybody thinks that if you're going to do the job with this, you can't get the job done with that. This is going to make it a lot easier for me to go ahead and get that one fastened on the inside on a plate. Yeah, sure, a little plate that we can just unscrew it from the bottom and drop it out if we have to. That way it's not locked in there forever like the bell crank would. So let me go ahead and move you down this way. We've got everything already set up. I was not happy with the ones that they sent in the kit. Sorry about that. With the ones they sent in the kit. So I came in and made the same exact one. Instead of being out of 1/32, they're now made out of a 16th. So, and it's just that little bit of extra strength and that little difference in weight that it will make me happy. I've got this thing all set up, so when it comes time to put these in, and I'll bring it back and show you a little bit better action on how it's going to work. But the thin ones are going to be the spacers that's going to go on this little line right here, this little spacer line. So these are going to go in here first. And then when I put the other ones in next to it, this is going to be the space between the aileron and the wing. Should look really nice and clean. Everything is glued into position. You can see, and I'll show you guys, I don't mind making a mistake. What I did was when it cut, I had it on the bandsaw. It just trimmed it a little bit too short on this side. Wasn't happy with it because I want this to be solid. As you can see, it looks like it's wedged in tight, but that's because I put those little spacers, remember? You put them back in. So now I've got it held up against here, and the side to side is not even, you don't have to pin it. It's just automatically staying in its position. So yeah, it's the eternal battle. So I made a mistake there, and then I decided I'm going to put an extra piece of wood in behind the hinge because it'll give you a little bit more meat to put the hinge through. And I'm going to come in and most likely, I'm trying to figure out, it's my internal battles. Do I do just a regular good old-fashioned Robart hinge coming up, coming out? I've done it before. You're going to have the little bumps where the hinge is at, one here, and one here. It'll look a little different, but yet at the same time it will be painted, and it will be painted silver just like the wings. So I may do that route. It's either that or I'm just going to come in with some glue in. It's like a Mylar with the fabric on the outside. And then you just come in, just slice it, glue it through, and it should be fine. You're not going to notice it. So I haven't decided that yet. But since this one's all ready to go, I'm not going to start that one over there until I get these little diagonals put in and this piece of wood glued into position. So the problem with that is, I wish you guys were here to talk to me about it. Should I go ahead and move this one to here? So move this down. So start down here in the bottom, come up, down, up, down, up, down. So that way I can put the hinge, not the hinge, but the servo, where the servo is coming through and the rod that's going to come back to push this one. I can possibly put that in the middle so it gives me a little more meat instead of just having it run down the same line as they've got it set up from the bell crank. Yeah, I'm thinking. So let me give this about a 3 or 4 minute think, and then we'll go from there and see what happens. Okay, a little bit longer than I had expected, but nonetheless, the first one's done. What I did do is I found out that the approximate angle of how you had to sand these pieces down was approximately 52 degrees. So I went and took a piece of pine, cut it, made sure it's at 52 degrees, and then just soaked it very well with thin CA, so that way it's hardened. And then when you come across and sand the pieces down, and it's just probably some fine grit, maybe let's call it maybe 220-ish grit, and that you can see it's well worn. And then just go ahead and sand it down, and as soon as you hit this, because it's so polished right now, it stops cutting. So then when everything's all said and done, you actually have pretty good angles, pretty good junctions. So with all that, I'm happy. I've got the little mount put into place for the servo horn. So I will be following this line that they've got set up with the bell crank. I'll be following this line down with the little high-tech 225s. So that way we're going to follow this all the way down. We can still have the servo horn about in this location, because if we come down and then do the S bend or the Z bend like that, so we're coming into it, we can go ahead and keep the rod towards this side of where it's at. So that way where we're connected to right about in here, it's good and strong. And this thing right now, both sides is pretty much soaked down with thin CA, so it hardens the balsas, so that way when we go ahead and put the screws through, it's going to hold tight. So seeing that this one's done, let's move everything down this side and get that finished off as well. As you can see, we have the ailerons done. That took me probably about an hour piece. The first one, it took a little bit longer to get that one done. The second one was a lot easier because any mistakes I made on that one, I didn't make on this one. Okay, with the ailerons done, I'd like to spin this thing around and start putting the mounting plates in for where the servos are going to be, where the landing gear is going to be hooked up. I don't know if you could see the clock on the wall from where you're at. It's 9:43. That's not 9:43 a.m. That's p.m. And I got to get my butt to bed because I got to be up at 5 o'clock so I can get to work early tomorrow morning. So, what do you say? Before I call this a video, give me your thoughts on the hinges. Either go with the Mylar, and you guys hopefully all know what those look like, or we go with the Robarts, and the Robarts look like this. These are the giant scale ones. These are the ones you see in the big birds. They do have smaller size, almost micro size, but the smaller size of the same thing, so when they go in, they're going to be bent like this, so they're going to flex like this through the hinge. But go ahead and just let me know what you guys think, because I'm still 50-50 on which way I want to go with this one. But I'll let you guys make the choice. So let's just go ahead. We'll call this a video, and I'll see you guys next time. I'm back in the shop.